This is Nick Bayard with the Lessons for Success and Happiness video series. I want to say happy fall. It's October 1st and we've entered a new damper phase of our year here, but it's a beautiful time out here in the Pacific Northwest. And I wanted to do a video about a book that has really changed how my family and I relate to physical objects, and it has really positively impacted our quality of life. And that book is called Goodbye Things. It's by an author named Fumio Sasaki. And he starts the book by really tracing back our relationship to things to our hunter-gatherer days, when it was life or death important for us to be collecting and gathering and storing up for the winter in times of plenty. So go out and hunt all the meat you can in the summertime and hold on to it for the winter when you're going to need it. But as we have grown to become indoor beings and climate-controlled environments, that has really not been necessary anymore. But we've held on to that habit in a way that can be kind of toxic and destructive for ourselves. And the thing that really stood out to me in this book was the concept that things are not neutral. By collecting and storing things in our houses, it's not sort of a net positive situation. I used to think about storing lots of extra batteries, lots of extra winter supplies, lots of extra frames and light bulbs and all kinds of things. Store them up because I'm going to need them eventually, so I might as well have them. But really, the way Fumio Sasaki talks about this is that things require effort. They require storage, they require thinking, they require cleaning. And why not kind of just have what you need and have a cleaner environment, a more open environment, than filling your house up with all this stuff that's going to take up your mental energy. And I like this concept a lot. And we rolled it out basically room by room in our house. And the difference between our living room before and after was really striking. Before, we had let the space itself dictate what should be there. We had, when we moved into the house, the living room had about 18 shelves. And we thought, okay, well, we need stuff to fit on 18 shelves. But we actually decided we're going to take everything out, including the shelves, and decide for ourselves how many shelves we wanted. And we ended up with about 4. And the difference was really striking. You can imagine, 16 or 18 shelves cluttered with decorations, objects, pictures, mementos, things like that. And not only was it sort of physically intimidating to walk into that space, but it was jarring to see so many things that were related to so many times of my life all in one place. It sort of there was this sort of element of surprise, and I realized I didn't really like that. I don't like being surprised by an old memory, or being surprised by thinking about how I used to be 10 years ago because I see an object that I had from 10 years ago. I don't really like that. I like to be centered. I like to be who I am today. And that's one of the other benefits of this book, is it really supports you to create the space and the environment for yourself that supports who you are today. I came across in this process, by about our 3rd room, I came across a bolo tie that my grandfather had passed down to me when he died, and that was when I was about 8 years old. So it's been a while, and I realized in all that time, I had only worn it once. I was in a bluegrass band in Washington, D.C., and I just wore it that one time, and all those other decades, I'd been carrying it around thinking, well, maybe I could turn it into something because it's so beautiful. It's got that turquoise inlay, or maybe I'll wear it if there's a Western-themed party we go to. But there's never been a Western-themed party I've gone to, and I've never decided to turn it into anything. And I realized that every time I saw it, I was confronted with feelings of guilt for not really doing anything with it, because it came from my grandfather, who's no longer with me. And I had let the feelings of love for my grandfather get wrapped up in this object, which was really meaningless. When I thought about probably where he picked it up, maybe on a business trip, he might have put it in a pile for me, when he knew he was creating his will. But I know he would not have wanted me to be walking around with these feelings of guilt about a piece of silver with some leather tied around it. So I I held it in my hands. I kind of was grateful for my grandfather, and I decided to throw it away. And that was a huge moment for me because it helped me realize that if I could get rid of that, and if that felt right, then I could pretty much get rid of anything that had less of an emotional weight to it, which meant almost anything that I own. And it also helped me reframe what it meant to bring something into my life. Even the idea of a gift is a funny idea, because a lot of gifts are things that are meant to be displayed, and they're picked out by someone else for you. And we've really drawn a line in the sand for our household in terms of what we put up, what we display. We don't even really put old pictures up anymore, which has been a really neat thing for us, because we're not really surprised by feelings when we walk through our hallway. We don't see old pictures that sort of remind us of a time that we're not really prepared to think about at any odd given time of day. That's why we have our photo albums. We can look at those when we decide to. So it's been a really transformative book for us, and a great toolkit. It's something that you can pick up and put down, this book. It's digestible, it's accessible, and I think it would help you too if you're watching this video and you're interested in this concept of minimalism. I highly recommend it. Again, it's called Goodbye Things. And I'll just leave you with a final thought about sort of minimalizing in your life. When you move from a state of what the author of this book calls sort of maximalizing to minimalizing, it can be really jarring and unsettling. And I would just prepare you to be thinking about that if you're going to go through this process. If you get this book, decide it's the thing for you to start streamlining your life, to start having a sort of a calmer, less cluttered lifestyle. It focuses the energy back on you. One thing I realized is that as we got rid of stuff, there was less sort of visual noise to direct my attention to in my house, and so I'd walk into the living room and feel like, oh, I can be at peace here, because there's not that much for me to focus my energy on. But what that did is it made the energy focus back on me, and that can be unsettling if you're not used to it. So entering a space and realizing you kind of are the center of your own attention, it brings your own life back into focus in what I think is a really healthy way. But it can be kind of challenging when you haven't done it in a while. And I had not. I'd been carrying so many things around that I really hadn't provided the space for my own energy to be focused inwards. And this, I think, is really the sort of the philosophical theme of this book. It's not necessarily about just making things simpler. It's about creating a space and an environment for yourself in your own abode that allows you to focus on your life, on this one precious gift of a life that you have on this earth, and not be so wrapped up in memories and feelings around material objects. So it's a journey I welcome you to join me on. I think it's a continuous process. I'd love to hear your comments in the comment section below. And I appreciate you watching this review. It's actually my first kind of book review, and it's more of a book plug than a book review, because I think that the idea of rating a book doesn't quite make sense, because books hit different people at different times for different reasons. And so if I had to rate this book for me right now, it'd be a 5 out of 5. And I think that probably if you're watching this video, it has the potential to be a 5 out of 5 for you. Well, thanks for watching.